story begins with a young boy sitting at home watching cartoons. Suddenly, all the TV signals shut down and only one global news broadcast appeared. It reported that after the spread of an unknown virus, the entire world had fallen into destruction. People infected by this deadly virus were biting each other, and everyone was forced to lock themselves inside their homes. The boy quickly rushed upstairs to tell his mother. On the way, he met his elder sister, Abigail. When they reached their mother, they saw she was already stressed, packing supplies, and constantly trying to call their father, who was a pilot. On the phone, he explained that the zombie virus was spreading everywhere at a terrifying speed. He told them not to wait for him to return, but to escape the city immediately with the children. By then, the sounds of people screaming outside had already begun. The three of them packed the car with supplies, ready to leave, but suddenly a zombie attacked their mother from behind. Terrified, little Abigail crawled under the car, where she witnessed zombies brutally biting her mother and her brother. After some time, the zombies left without noticing Abigail. Yet her mother, who had been bitten, transformed into a zombie and crawled under the car to attack Abigail. Just then, a former army soldier named Jack appeared and killed her, saving Abigail. Knowing that her brother would also turn into a zombie, Jack gave him mercy by shooting him, freeing him from the infection. From that moment, the world had already entered a full-scale zombie apocalypse. Massive cities collapsed into ruins as nature began reclaiming human structures. In this post-apocalyptic horror world, Jack and Abigail became two of the very few survivors who managed to escape the viral outbreak. Jack raised Abigail from that day forward, teaching her how to survive the terrifying zombie apocalypse. Slowly, she learned everything. Without Jack, she would never have sources, and he became a father figure to her. When they camped in the dark forest at night, they suddenly heard noises. Jack instantly recognized it as a zombie and gave it a clean headshot. From his 10 years of experience, however, he knew zombies never moved alone but in packs. That meant more were nearby, so they had to migrate again. By sunrise, Jack and Abigail packed their supplies once again and moved forward using horses. While crossing a mountain, they spotted another human survivor firing bullets at zombies to defend himself. Because so few real humans remained, they decided to help him from above. Jack also used this as a chance to test Abigail's shooting skills. But despite his warning, Abigail hastily pulled the trigger. Her bullet not only struck the zombie, but also hit the survivor. Jack rushed down with Abigail, only to see that the man could no longer survive from the gunshot wound. With a heavy heart, Jack ended his pain mercifully. Afterward, they collected supplies from his car, including food and water, which in this apocalyptic world were as valuable as gold, without realizing that the driver's other companions were still out there, waiting. Just then, 3 more cars pulled up. The group saw the gunshot and sword marks on their companion and realized it wasn't zombies, but Jack and Abigail who had killed him. They pointed their guns, demanding answers for why they had done this. Among them was a pregnant woman named Megan, along with her husband, David. In that tense moment, the group was ready to shoot, believing Jack and Abigail had murdered their friend just to steal supplies. Jack and Abigail raised their own weapons, trying to explain that it was an accident. They had only tried to save him, and that everyone needed to leave immediately. A massive horde of zombies was closing in, and if they stayed, none of them would survive. Still, the others refused to listen, and exactly as Jack had warned, a terrifying crowd of zombies stormed in from every direction. Though everyone fought back, the sheer number was overwhelming. The undead tore into them one by one until only Jack, Abigail, Megan, and David were left alive. The 4 escaped together in one vehicle, but not far ahead the car broke down. At least they had gotten away from the horde. Jack told David and Megan they should part ways, saying their group had fallen because of their own mistakes. With Abigail, he prepared to move on, but David and Megan kept following them. After walking the entire day, the 4 reached an abandoned town where they decided to spend the night. Jack set deadly traps around the area to alert them if zombies approached it while they slept. Later, he showed David and Megan a map. Not too far away was a boat camp where many survivors lived together. Since Megan was close to giving birth, that camp would be the only place with medical help. Apart from pointing them there, Jack said, he could do no more. Abigail, however, was unhappy with this decision. She knew David alone could not protect a pregnant woman across such dangerous ground. She argued that they had to help Megan, at least until she reached the camp. Jack tried to convince her otherwise, reminding her that in this world, they had to think only of their own safety and not risk their lives for strangers. By morning, he said, they would separate, but the horde that had been tracking them was already drawing closer. The next morning, Abigail sat alone on the roof when 2 zombies attacked her from behind. Thanks to Jack's training, she managed to kill one and lure the other to the edge, where she used clever tactics to throw it down. Jack felt proud seeing her improve, but there was no time to waste. A larger wave of zombies soon approached. Luckily, Jack's traps killed most of them, giving the 4 a chance to escape again. David kept begging Jack to help them reach the survivor camp. Abigail then revealed an idea. Since she had once lived in this very town, she knew of a nearby airport where several small helicopters and planes were stored. If they found even one working aircraft, they could reach the camp quickly. Jack was skeptical. What if no plane worked? And why should they risk everything for this couple? Abigail argued that they could keep the the plane afterward, making it valuable for their own survival too. Realizing she wouldn't abandon them, Jack reluctantly agreed. Together they pushed forward, bringing a wheelchair for Megan and carrying her to the airport. Their plan was to deliver the couple safely to the camp before moving on. By great fortune, they even found a small passenger plane, but it wouldn't start. While David tried desperately to fix it, Jack and Abigail climbed a watchtower to scout the area. From there, they saw a terrifyingly huge zombie horde approaching. Down below, David grew agitated, angry, and unstable, as if he were losing control. Realizing the unstoppable numbers, Jack and Abigail rushed back down, warning David and Megan they had to flee, but the plane still wouldn't start. With no choice, Jack and Abigail opened fire, holding the line in an intense, cinematic battle. Just as the undead were about to overwhelm them, the plane roared to life. At the very last moment, they all leapt aboard, and the aircraft lifted into the sky, escaping death by only a breath. Yet only moments later, after flying a short distance, the old engine, untouched for 10 years, suddenly exploded. The aircraft began to crash. Using his survival instincts, Jack steered the falling plane directly into a dry tree, calculating the impact so no one would be injured. Miraculously, his plan worked. All 4 survivors crawled out alive. With night approaching, they quickly searched for shelter and found an abandoned factory. Inside, they mapped their route and realized it would take 2 more days to reach the survivor camp. By now, Jack had begun to feel sympathy for Megan. That night, he revealed the true reason for his hardened nature. When the outbreak began 10 years earlier, the very first person he had to kill was his own wife when she tried to bite him. From that day on, the human inside him had died, leaving only a soldier of survival, except for Abigail, who had become like a daughter, the only person he still lived to protect. Meanwhile, David secretly pointed a gun at his own head. He had been scratched earlier, and though the wound was small, the infection was slowly turning him into one of the undead. Since the transformation was gradual, he chose not to end his life just yet. Instead, he vowed to escort Megan safely to the camp before leaving her forever. The next morning, the 4 continued their journey through silent forests, careful not to alert any zombies. David, though infected, hid it from the others. When Abigail and Megan walked ahead, Jack confronted David alone, already sensing the truth. David admitted everything, insisting he would never hurt anyone and only wanted to see his wife safe. Jack, moved by his determination, gave him a chance. Deeper in the forest, they discovered a house with lights glowing inside, a shocking sign of life after so many years. While Jack wanted to confirm the danger first, Abigail, thinking of Megan, took the risk. She approached the door and called out, saying they meant no harm and only needed shelter for a pregnant woman. A man named Norton stepped outside. He offered them shelter but demanded they leave their weapons at the door. Once inside, he explained that he was a scientist, which was why his house still had electricity even after a decade of apocalypse. To the group's astonishment, Norton served them proper food, meals none of them had tasted in years, and even strong drinks. He boasted that all of this was possible because of his inventions. But then, shockingly, Norton claimed the apocalypse was a blessing. Humanity, he said, had been destroying Earth for selfish gain. The outbreak, according to him, had allowed nature to reclaim the planet. Zombies, in his eyes, were nature's upgraded version of humans, creatures that lived only to feed, not to exploit or advance. His words enraged the group. How could anyone praise such horror? But since they only needed shelter for the night, they stayed silent. Meanwhile, David excused himself to the bathroom as the virus spread further through his body. After washing his face, he returned, only to find a shocking sight. Jack, Abigail, and Megan lay unconscious on the floor. Standing above them was Norton, smiling wickedly. With a twisted grin, the scientist announced that it was time to test his new inventions on them. Inside the basement, Norton revealed his dark secret. Strapped to his hand was a strange device that allowed him to control zombies. And because David was already half infected, even he was forced to obey. Norton had built the machine after experimenting on his own wife, who had long ago turned into a zombie. Ever since, he had lured survivors into his home, feeding them to her while testing his invention. Now the device gave him the power to command entire hordes, making him believe he could become king of the world. Soon, all 4 survivors woke up tied in the basement. Norton proudly explained everything and released his zombie wife, ordering her to bite them. But he underestimated Jack and Abigail. Despite being restrained, they fought back, while David managed to break free. In a desperate act, David killed the zombie wife, saving the others. Enraged, Jack attacked Norton, but the scientists escaped through a hidden passage. The group quickly grabbed their supplies, found Norton's car outside, and sped into the dark forest. But by nightfall, a massive crowd of zombies chased them down. When the vehicle got stuck, they were surrounded on all sides. Knowing the bullets wouldn't last, David sacrificed himself. He told the others to run. He was already turning anyway. He fought bravely but was ultimately torn apart. Abigail covered Jack as he carried the pregnant Megan in his arms. Together, they reached the boat camp, screaming for help as dozens of zombies closed in. Snipers opened fire from the camp walls, and soon a boat rushed out to rescue them, bringing them safely aboard a massive ship where many survivors lived. There, Megan finally delivered her baby. But elsewhere, Norton was gathering gathering new hordes with his device, furious over the death of his wife and the ruin of his dream of ruling the apocalypse. Inside the camp, Jack thanked the leader for accepting Megan. He told Abigail their mission was complete and they should leave soon. He didn't want her tied down, growing soft in the safety of a camp. Abigail argued back. She was tired of being alone for 10 years and wanted to belong somewhere. Their disagreement ended when news came that Megan had given birth to a healthy baby, but her body was failing. She would not live past sunset. Jack visited her privately. With a weak smile, Megan said she was at peace knowing her child would live. Before dying, she placed the responsibility of protecting her baby on Jack. Meanwhile, Abigail bonded with the other survivors and discovered a hidden escape path built for emergencies. By morning, Norton led a massive horde straight to the ship. Using his device, he commanded the zombies to slaughter the survivors one by one. Chaos erupted. Jack and Abigail fought side by side, guiding people towards safety when Norton himself arrived. He struck Abigail down and sent zombies after Jack, who fell into a pit. Injured but relentless, Jack killed the creatures and climbed out. Furious, Norton attacked him directly. Jack turned the fight by targeting the device on his wrist. Striking it again and again, he finally destroyed it. The moment the device shattered, the horde turned on Norton himself, tearing him apart. Abigail pulled Jack to safety, but the battle wasn't over. During the escape, Abigail noticed a bracelet with her name on the arm of a zombie. In its pocket was a photo. To her horror, she realized the creature had once been her real father, who had vanished during the original plane outbreak 10 years earlier. Now, after all this time, she had found him, only to discover he was no longer human. Moments later, the ship exploded in flames as zombies swarmed the camp. Her father followed through the fire and attacked Jack, trying to bite him. Faced with the impossible choice between her blood and the man who had raised her, Abigail lifted her gun. With tears in her eyes, she pulled the trigger, killing her father to save Jack, just as Jack had once been forced to kill his own wife. Weeping, Abigail embraced Jack. Together, they vowed to stay with the remaining survivors until a new safe haven could be found. And so this terrifying and emotional tale of the zombie apocalypse ended.